What's going on, party people? Phantom here, and welcome to another episode of Random Access Memories. The format to RAM is simple, as I have mentioned in previous episodes, in where I take a game and I talk a little bit about the history, and then dive into different random memories that I have from that game. The memories can be something specific, or just things that I remember in general about the game. There's no real specific format, but the point is to bring up some nostalgia from my younger years and hopefully stir up those random access memories that you might have sitting dormant in your mind as well. So enough intro, let's get on with the episode.
Introducing the next generation from Nintendo, New Super Mario World, created especially for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. It's a bit more exciting, a bit more challenging, a bit more graphic, a bit more colorful, a bit more realistic, a bit more levels, a bit more secret, a bit more enemies, a bit more friends, a bit more sound, a bit hotter, a bit cooler, a bit weird, a bit more revolutionary, a bit more Mario, a bit more of what you want. It's 16-bit, and it's yours only if you get New Super Nintendo. Now you're playing with power, superpower.
Genesis does
16-bit arcade graphics.
You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis does
16-bit sports action.
You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis does.
Get Joe Montana free, Pat Riley free, Buster Douglas free, Super Monaco GP free, or Collins free.
Genesis does.
What Nintendo?
The year is 1994. Console Wars. The Super Nintendo Entertainment System and the Sega Genesis. Both systems are vying for the top spot in the console generation. Sega already had the Genesis competing with the Super Nintendo, but we're getting ahead of the game with the introduction of the Sega CD, the 32X, and the Saturn was waiting in the wings, just ready to be released to the public. So what was Nintendo to do? They already had a stellar lineup of games for the system, with Super Mario World being packed in, Contra 3, Street Fighter 2, A Link to the Past, and many other games that hadn't even been released yet, such as Metroid and Killer Instinct. Well, for Nintendo, the answer is very simple. Just design what people have considered to be one of the best games that has ever been released for any console or system ever. Well, how do you do that, you might ask? Well, they decided to purchase nearly the majority share of an unknown company and test them with completely making a new game for an old system with graphics that had never been seen on a home console at the time. Well, who's the main character going to be then? Well, it was going to be a completely redesigned character from Nintendo's younger arcade years, and he was going to have a spiffy new sidekick. Well, what is this game, you might ask? Well, today we're going to randomly access Donkey Kong Country. If you've ever played Donkey Kong Country, then you understand why it's widely considered to be one of the best games ever to be released, and also one of the reasons why it's the third best-selling Super Nintendo game outside of Super Mario World, which I've already mentioned was a pack-in for the system, and then Super Mario All-Stars being number 2. Donkey Kong Country even outsold Street Fighter 2, which at the time is just mind-blowing considering the popularity of Street Fighter. I think the first thing that always comes to mind when I think of the game, Donkey Kong Country, is just the sound or the music. Some might say the graphics or the gameplay are the things that really stand out to them, and while we will get to those because they are a big part of what the game was, I remember Donkey Kong Country just for that soundtrack, which just took me away. From the theme song, to Minecart Madness, to Gangplank Galleon, there are so many good songs to listen to, and how they're still so soothing almost 20 years later. Just take a moment and listen to this, and you'll see what I mean. It's just too good. And as a kid, I didn't have access to very much money because, I didn't have a job, and, I just decided I would sit in levels like the water stages and record them on a cassette tape so I could take them with me and listen to it. And little did I know at the time there was a CD that was actually released called DK Jams, yes, with a Z, that had the entire soundtrack on it. I kind of wish I would have known about that, but it was the early 90s and the internet wasn't a huge thing, so, Nintendo knew what they were up against in regards to the next generation of consoles, and they weren't really ready to show their hand in regards to the Nintendo 64, which was going to be released in 1996, a full 2 years after the release of Donkey Kong Country. The next generation had more power, more storage, more everything, so Nintendo really needed to blow the doors off of Donkey Kong Country to show that the Super Nintendo still had staying power despite the fact that it was getting old. The digital sprites at the time, and even now today, are just fantastic with their overall look and design. The characters have a livelihood, which really hadn't been seen on a console yet, and each level in the game was unique in its own self with different colors, backgrounds, lighting effects, and just so many other things going on. When that sun sets on one of the first levels, I think it's the second level in the game, the transformation was amazing. And it's still one of my favorite things to watch. Finally, you have the gameplay. The controls were sharp, the platforming was challenging, but then you had some levels that were just outright aggravating. The level that has always set the standard, and one that stands out in my mind as one of the most fun things I ever played on the Super Nintendo or in any game, are the minecart stages in Donkey Kong Country. They're such a staple that the most recent Donkey Kong Country games released for the Wii U have them back in full effect. I love these levels so much that I have save states on my emulators, which have all the minecart levels ready to go. There are times where I just will turn on the emulator, playing the minecart levels, and then turn the emulator off. When I look back on Donkey Kong Country, my mind begins to race with multiple memories of when I was a kid, and even when I'm an adult. Come to think of it, I've been playing this same game for over 20 years. If that's not a testament to how good this game is, I don't know what is. So, for Donkey Kong Country, I'll always have memories about that game, and I will always be able to randomly access them. That's going to do it for this episode of Random Access Memories. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and that it was entertaining for you. If you'd like to join Video Gamers United on Facebook, or interested in the music featured in this video, there are links below. Until the next episode, we'll see you next time.